Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Trending in Hollywood. I am, of course, Scott Menzel, and I am here with Demetri Panos.
Hello.
So today we're going to do
Cl-
a quick recap of CinemaCon. This will be an interesting way to do this because Demetri was not at CinemaCon. I was in and out of CinemaCon, basically, where I ran into a panel, ran out of a panel, went back to my hotel room, and then came back for another panel. But it'll be interesting to see how the conversation works today based on someone who read mostly articles and then someone who was in the room and what we think were the pros and cons of the event. Demetri, I'm going to throw this over to you from an outside perspective, from reading articles, the way that things were reported. What would you say were the highlights that you read?
Well, CinemaCon, just to, I guess, give a primer to people who may not be too familiar about this confab. It's an annual convention that normally takes place in April. It was meant exclusively for exhibitors. It was a way for exhibitors to get to Vegas, number one, and for vendors to show off their wares. And by vendors, I mean the people who create projectors, movie seats, concession people, the people who clean theaters and such. And it was a way to do business. It was a way to see people face to face. And then the studios became involved. And once the studios became involved, it became a bigger event. Why? Well, the studios would come and they would show off their wares. They would show off what they were going to have for the summer. It was primarily to showcase, it was to show off their blockbusters or their tentpole movies for the upcoming late spring and throughout the summer. The studios would tout out stars. They would do these big shows, and again, it's changed. Like it used to be at the Paris. Now they have residency at Caesar's Palace, where they use the Celine Dion Theater. So they do these big, lavish shows, and it became the vendors are there. The studios are there. Many lunch meetings and dinner meetings and parties take place throughout the entire week. And then there are the panels that the studios hold, and they get to tout their staff, both international, their domestic, and then they talk about their movies. And they usually are showing you exclusive behind-the-scenes footage while they have a star talking about said movie. So it's a little bit above and beyond just playing a trailer. And the exhibitors love this, okay? Exhibitors love this. Why do they love it so much? Because a lot of the studios, like everybody's together, Scott, right? So these studios get to more or less kiss the ass of the exhibitor because they're right there. So many a time, the studios will have these private parties where they will bring talent into the party, and then they get Joe Exhibitor from, middle of America to come to these parties, and they get to shake hands with the likes of Tom Cruise, Sylvester Stallone, Tom Selleck, and they get a picture with these people, and it makes their day, and it helps from an exhibitor relations standpoint, which I've done. And it just like, hey, that was a great party. They're also liquored up, and they're given a lot of food. Okay? So for the exhibitor who doesn't get this taste of Hollywood, right? They don't get to mingle with celebrity. This is the closest that it ever comes. So they love going to CinemaCon. They love that the studios are there, and the fact that they can sit down and meet and greet some of cinema's biggest, greatest box office stars and Academy Award winners as well. So it's this big party thing, but it really is tailored to the exhibitor to try to get them excited, not just for the newest popcorn or way to make popcorn, but what do we have coming in cinemas? What can we plan for? What's going to look big? What may not work? And believe me, these shows have influence. And studios have learned in a major way that if you have something that doesn't look that great, you usually don't bring it because it can end up affecting how a studio releases a movie. The producers is one such thing, although that happened at a show East. That's just a CinemaCon taking place in the East Coast. You don't want to show something bad because it really does get discussed, not only amongst your peers and all the other exhibitors, but then it gets written about and people will talk about that stuff. So this year I was very kind of surprised that CinemaCon took place. And I wasn't going. But it didn't, nonetheless, it was trending in Hollywood because it was written about in the news, in the trades, every day. Okay, even though it was scaled down. They didn't have an international day this year because many folks internationally not allowed to come into the States due to COVID. So what I glommed off of this, or what I noticed, is there really was a big push to tell exhibitors, hey guys, we're with you. Theatrical exclusivity, it's a big thing. This was said every single day. This seemed to be the mantra. The movie business is here. It's here to stay. The movie business has overcome many a pitfall and disaster thrown its way. COVID has hit us hard, but we're resilient. And so long as the studios come out and say theatrical exclusivity, every time I read about it and those words were mentioned, rounds of applause. And this is what I gathered just from reading it. That seemed to be the main focal thing. Cinema is back. All right, we need to preserve the movie-going experience. And mind you, that's what CinemaCon has always been about. But there seemed to be more of a dire need to get the message across because I do feel that many exhibitors were crestfallen by many decisions that were made. So I did hear about presentations. Ghostbusters Afterlife, big deal. The Spider-Man Go Home or No Way Home trailer debuted. Heard a lot about the Paramount showcasing Maverick, the Jurassic World from Universal, Blumhouse I read a lot about. Also read about Mission Impossible, which Tom Cruise is always a major presence. I also read that a lot of the talent were not there. They did their things virtually, which you can speak to much more. But these are the things that I picked up on. These are the movies that seem to get the most and best coverage that people seem to be excited about. But I guess the theme of we're here, we're not going anywhere, that seemed to be a main theme from John Fithian, the head of NATO, National Association of Theater Owners. But I'll also say, but we'll say this later, there also seemed to be a little bit of mixed messaging from some of the studios as well. And we'll point the hypocrisy out maybe a little bit later, which I think is important. And I also want to talk about what Patty Jenkins had to say, because she just seems to be now with Wonder Woman 84, like, its release all said and done. Now she's being blunt and honest. And I respect that. And I understand that she couldn't be back in Christmas time, 2020, going into 2021. But now she's pretty much unfettered. And I can't disagree with what she said. And we'll talk about that a little later.
All right. Thank you, Demetri. In terms of what I felt about CinemaCon, just my overall. So, very, very truthful. As I said in the opening, I've kind of went there not because I was fully planning to. It was actually a plan that was going to happen a while ago that I fully went to appreciate it and everything. And basically the TV awards moved, and then I wasn't going to go, and then my wife convinced me to go, and I went, and I kind of was like half focused on it. I would come in and out of presentations and sort of pay attention when I was in there, and then as soon as I walked out, I was kind of doing other things. So I didn't get to go to a lot of stuff. Like, as I told Demetri, I didn't go to the trade floor. I didn't go to a lot of dinners. I didn't go to a lot of breakfasts. I didn't do a big part of what makes CinemaCon. I just went to a couple presentations for the major studios, and I missed the Lionsgate one because I needed to be home yesterday. So to recap real quick, my big takeaway was, for a virtual type event, which I feel like a lot of what happened for CinemaCon could have been done virtually, because everything that was happening was basically a virtual presentation. Yes, there was a certain number of executives that kind of came on the floor and sort of like, hey, I'm so-and-so from Paramount. Hey, I'm so-and-so from Lionsgate. Hey, I'm so-and-so from this. But there was just no star power there. There was literally just a bunch of executives saying like, hey, we're with you. Very confusing messaging, because yes, there was a lot of pandering to theater owners, but at the same time, there was like this conversation that couldn't be ignored about like, hey, we were in the pandemic, and like these windows were broken and we don't know what to do with them, and yada, yada, yada. And it's kind of like movies need to be seen on the big screen, yet we're still talking about like numbers. And every single presentation to me had like this kind of like ego to it, right? Where it was kind of like, Warner Brothers, we released the most movies out of every single studio this year, you know, like during the pandemic, and like we made this amount of money, and Universal's like, oh, Fast 9 made so much money, and blah, 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 blah. Like, it was just watching all this stuff unfold, and I'm just kind of like, oh, okay. Like, it was just like them like stroking their egos, and it was really, really strange, because there was like no realistic mention of like, hey, In the Heights really didn't do that well, or hey, you know, Fast 9, even though it did well, is really like one of the lowest grossing Fast and the Furious movies of all time. And that's why I think Disney skipped out entirely. They were like, here you go, here's Shang-Chi, watch it and enjoy it. Go see this in the movie theater. It was such a weird thing.
It's funny. Well, what's cracking me up is, Scott, is like, you know, that's how CinemaCon always is, right? Every studio presentation usually starts off with our box office. This is what we gave to you, dear exhibitor.
Yes.
And without you, we couldn't have achieved such greatness, because it was so great. Yay to our sales team. Yay to our CEO. We're so great, but we really couldn't have done it without you. We couldn't have done it without you, because they played in your theaters, and this is how much market share we gave you. Woo! Aren't we fantastic? Always been this way. Scott, would you tell me? I would have thought they would try to change tack a little, because that didn't happen in 2020.
No, and what made it worse was, and listen, again, I have my own thoughts and feelings about things going on in this industry with box checking and whatnot, but I have to say, nothing was more evident of how out of touch the big people in distribution were when I'm watching like a 60 or 70-year-old white man come on stage over and over and over and again, saying like the same thing. Like, I just feel like it was like a grandpa, like sitting there like, movies, the theaters are here, we need them, you guys do it, you do it. It was just like, it felt so like out of touch, and like everyone thought they were so funny. Like, one person thought they were funnier than the next person. I'm kind of like, oh my God. Like, it was just like, it was sort of like, from an outside perspective, it just felt so cringeworthy watching these same people over and over and over again do it. In terms of the presentations, I mean, another thought that I'm having, and this is like me giving my I don't give a fuck reaction to CinemaCon, is that there's a part of me that I'm sitting in a theater, right? And I traveled to Vegas. I'm sitting in this theater. I'm wearing a mask inside a theater, inside a casino, and I'm seeing a room filled with people. And I mean, it wasn't fully filled, but I would say certain really big presentations were probably at least half filled to maybe 3/4 filled,
Okay.
which was a pretty decent turnout. I know, Demetri, you have some insight on that in a little bit. But the funniest thing is that you don't have any star power, but yet you're pandering to the people who are there, and you're like insulting them by showing them something that they could be watching at home. Like, oh, isn't this great? Here's a clip in Dolby Digital Sound. Like, woohoo! Like, I'm like, just send me the trailer. I'll watch it at home. Like, why did I come here and you can't come here and do a proper presentation, have talent come out and do it? Mixed messaging. Like, that's literally all I kept thinking of. It's like, why am I sitting here? Like,
Yeah.
as much as I enjoyed a lot of the trailers that were on display and a lot of the clips that were shown, I sort of just thought to myself, this is a virtual presentation. Right. Every time I'm watching it, it's like, here's the WB guy. And it's like, here's the person at WB. Here's the person at Focus. Here's the person at Universal. Oh, here's Ethan Hawke basically saying like, oh, I wish I could be there. Why couldn't you be there, Ethan Hawke? Like, we're here. I'm sitting here. A whole bunch of people are sitting here. Like, it's this weird privilege thing. And I hate saying that, but it's very, very true. It's like, protect them at all costs. They can't be amongst the regulars.
Right.
That's the messages that I felt when I was watching this. I literally felt like, celebrities, stay away. You know, we'll send you a video. Here's Tom Cruise in his car shooting a scene. Like, it's all this stuff. But it just, to me, and I know a lot of people don't feel this way. They're like, well, it's at times, it's optics. What's worse than optics of putting a bunch of people in a room to make them watch a virtual presentation? What's worse than that? Like, go to the movies, watch these movies, but at the same time, we're not going to bring anyone here to kind of sell these movies to you besides studio reps.
Right. Joe Drake isn't a star.
Right.
Like, nobody really, you know, and this is the weird thing about the industry, right? So you get people like the head of Sony releasing, the head of distribution for Paramount, Chris Aronson, right? Within this world, and the world's like, it's a small world, they're very well known, and they yield and wield a lot of power, right? And many have very good reputations. People enjoy working with them. However, outside of the world, nobody knows. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody knows like what it takes to get a movie into a theater, how to market movies within the theaters, which is all changed, and nobody cares, you know. And a theater manager, whoopee, like he doesn't want to see. No offense, Mr. Aronson, but he doesn't want to see you. And you coming in a jetpack. They want to see Tom Cruise. That's what they're there for. That's why the studios have these private parties and tout the talent that they take pictures with. Now, you said mixed messaging. I got a lot of. And now I want to talk about the hypocrisy of the industry, of the studio dynamics, of the studio machine. It would have been refreshing had I heard somebody come up and go, yeah, yep, you know, this was our decision. You know, we were in a bind, you were in a bind, you were closed. What do we do? How do we mitigate this pandemic and whatever? And there was not one mention that the studios caused the problem. Yeah, it was a side effect of the pandemic, theaters closing down, but it was the theaters who obliterated these windows. It was not the theaters, it was the studios that came up and said, we're going direct to streaming. It was Warner Brothers who said, our 2021 slate is going to go day and date theatrically and on HBO Max. They said that, okay? It's hard to listen to them. And when they broke the system, Universal's been wanting to break the system for years. Disney obviously has broken the system, and I think they may have been afraid, especially with the Scarlett Johansson lawsuit going on, to field any questions. But I don't understand how, as an exhibitor, like, you're not just sitting in the audience going, yeah, but you did this. And it would have been nice for somebody to come out and say, yeah, listen, guys, we were in a jam. This is what we had to do. But we're going to help fix the problem. We guarantee that in 2022, we're going to have exclusivity in your theaters. We're going back to how it was. The window is going to remain at 45 days. And if we change that, if we can come together, if you think that there's a problem, we want to work together. But right now, let's just say 45 days, okay? But we are committed to exclusivity in your theaters. Committed to it in 2022 and going forward. We really think that the pandemic sucked for everybody. We know that we're responsible for, in some part, for what's happening now. But we want robust box office because we understand we can't leave money on the table. And we're slowly but surely proving that we can get back there. Movies like Free Guy, Quiet Place 2, which done very well. King Kong vs. Godzilla. Now, I know that was day and date, but we want to show you that we take exclusivity in your business seriously because it's a business that it's our history. We are 20th century, or we're Walt Disney, or we're Paramount. Our history is providing you with theatrical entertainment. And we're going to be exclusive in your theaters starting in 2022 with our 2022 slate and move forward. And we will do this together. Now, there may be a movie in our thing that we may look at and say, this may not be the best theatrically. We'll take it out and then we'll go exclusively to streaming. But no more day and date, theatrical and streaming. That's done. That experiment is over. You spoke. We're listening. Our creators have spoken. We're listening. We're committed to making this business thrive the way it is. Not one studio took responsibility for the state that we're in right now. I mean, Sony doesn't have to take responsibility because they've stuck to their guns. They're like the only studio that didn't do that day and date release kind of thing. But everybody else, not one person got up there to say, hey, it's on us, but we're going to help fix it. But I did hear a lot of, well, it's kind of an experiment process. We're going to look at it picture to picture. No, that does not instill encouragement. It does. You have to just come out and flatly say, theater exclusivity from now on. 2022. That's the year we're bringing cinema back. And we're in this with you. Didn't happen. That was a mixed message, like you said.
Well, no, listen, it's a mixed messaging just from the whole presentation, right? I mean, like, listen to what I was saying in terms of presentations, right? You put on an event. It's like going to a film festival in person and not having a Q&A with the stars afterwards, right? Like, it's not like having not a red carpet before the world premiere and then having the Q&A afterwards. Same thing, I feel like it's like going to Comic-Con without a panel, like without having a panel conversation.
Right.
So basically what you wind up seeing there is that you're seeing a clip that you are just watching a 45-minute or an hour presentation, and you're watching it on the big screen. And yes, do some of the trailers play better on the big screen? No question about it. And obviously they made sure that they tied those trailers in, like Matrix and Batman and all this shit that I wouldn't I would not deny that I would go see on the big screen. So there was obviously a plan of we're going to show X, Y, and Z, because I didn't see any trailer where I kind of said to myself, you know what, I'll be home and watch that. Other than two of the Neon titles, which I would automatically probably not even see. But if I had a
Wow.
choice, but at the same time, I'm going to have to see because I'm an awards, I run an awards group, so I will have to watch them. But like, those are two movies like where I saw them and I was kind of like, I'll watch those at home whenever I get the link. But long story short, it's just that it's weird seeing something tout something like go back to the movies, and yet you don't have anyone here. And yes, I get it's so easy to just say, oh, they're working. Oh, we're not safe. It's blah, 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 blah. But to me, it's like they're working right now, and that's not technically safe. Like there's only so much of the excuse and the bullshit that you can buy into at this point, right? Like it's like they're deciding this is better than this. This is more important than this. And I understand that someone filming, if they get COVID, that it shuts down production. It's going to cost them a ton of money to shut down the production.
Yep.
But you have to make the decision whether or not you're speaking to the people who are basically showcasing your work, basically supporting you. They're your bread and butter.
Yeah.
And you're basically telling them, you know what? You're not worth me going to. I'll just record you a video. And we've become so accepting of this now. And I'm speaking now from even like a perspective of doing awards. It's almost insulting when someone like won't get you a video because you're kind of like, well, you won't come in person, you won't send me a video. Like, what are you doing? Like, you can't sneak into the bathroom for like 2 seconds and just be like, pop out your phone and record something. But it speaks volumes. This what I'm basically saying is that you're basically telling someone to go do something that you, on the other hand, are saying, I do not feel comfortable with. I do not feel comfortable going into that theater and standing with you today, so I'm going to send you a video.
Right. And the impact, I think, too, again, you can speak to this far more clearly than I. One of the big deals about those presentations, Scott, is the fact that they have the talent there. They're right there, front and center. Okay. Sometimes the studios will even have a host by means of comedian. Like I know Lionsgate's had Kevin Hart. At a Lionsgate presentation, we had Larry the Cable Guy, went over huge, right? So they will do this. There were times that Sony had brought out Adam Sandler, and hysterical, he killed, and it was great. And there was this communal laughing and just being entertained, and it meant something. It meant something when Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie would come on stage and do a filmmaker 101 as to how we did this scene. And they would talk anecdotally about the making of a Mission Impossible movie and a stunt. But when they're there in front of you, man, it's just like, wow, that's Tom Cruise. That's amazing. That's Christopher McQuarrie. That's awesome. Or wow, that's Sylvester Stallone. Or that's Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's crazy. And that's what the exhibitors, they love that kind of show, that showcase. And when a trailer or a behind the scenes clip is introduced by that talent, it makes it all the more like you're just more invested in it. And again, you could speak to this better than I can because I didn't see this virtually, but virtual is virtual. And you know that it's probably a taped package, correct?
Yes. Yeah, it's a fully taped package, which, and I understand. Listen, again, one of the things that I will say is that we've seen so much live stuff happen virtually, and we've seen the glitches in it. So I totally understand like why people don't do virtual stuff live. It makes no sense to do so because it has the same impact. If you can get something that's pre-recorded, and even if it's done virtually, but it's well put together, it's going to look better than doing something live where like, oh my God, my internet connection dropped out, because then you have stuff that happens at like the Golden Globes where Daniel Kaluuya's like speech, like the audio glitches, and then you get something that drops off and you're like, oh my God, we lost him, yada, yada, yada. And then it looks like a bad PR. It becomes a PR nightmare. So pre-recorded is definitely the way to go, but I think it's strange seeing a big event that's basically telling you to tell. This is my problem with the messaging. It's not just speaking to someone in the room. It's basically telling everyone in that room that we should be conveying that you should be going to movie theaters. That you should be telling everyone who you come in contact with, go see Quiet Place 2 on the big screen. Go see Mission Impossible 7 on the big screen. And that's the problem, because if the stars and the directors and the film, whatever, the producers, whatever, don't feel confident enough to come themselves, why are you dictating? And I think this is the big problem that people have on social media, which again, I normally don't agree with, but I can kind of see their argument. If you're not going to show up to something, don't expect people to do the same because you want them to.
Right. No, I agree. Speaking of directors who did show up, Patty Jenkins showed up.
Yes.
She was part of a panel. And Patty Jenkins, this comes from the Hollywood Reporter. She urged Hollywood studios, to commit to the big screen experience as they emerge from the pandemic. Now, she also goes on to say, I don't know why we are talking about taking exclusive theatrical windows away. One studio should plant a flag and make a huge commitment to the theatrical experience, and the filmmakers will go there. She's 100% correct. You know, the director went on to describe the heartbreaking decision for Warner Brothers to release Wonder Woman 1984 day and date. And she goes on to say, last December, admitting that at the time it was the best choice of a bunch of very bad choices. It was a very, very difficult choice. It was such a dark time. But now I was happy to give it to the public. I don't think it plays the same on streaming, she says. I did practical effects and shot it in IMAX. So, it was painful. She received more applause when she asserted, I'm not a fan of day and date, and I hope to avoid it forever. And she's a director. Okay? I make movies for the big screen experience. The talent should also be involved in those decisions. So, again, when a director such as Patty Jenkins comes out and says something like that, the studios really, don't use it as a publicity stunt. Take it to heart. Because she's not the only director that feels that way. Scott, she's the only director, because these are the kind of confabs that Christopher Nolan will show up at. Yeah, James Cameron will show up at.
But even Denis Villeneuve didn't show up. He basically showed a 30-minute clip basically begging people to come there. That again. I'm literally watching a clip of that. Oh, this movie means so much to me. This movie means so much to me. And it's like, okay. Like, why aren't you here? And I don't want to hear the optics thing, because we're an individual. We have it. We can make decisions on our own. He had no problem coming out and tell Warner Brothers and trying to sue Warner Brothers for the Legendary thing, right? Mm-hmm. About putting it on streaming. He had no problem doing that. So if he felt so strongly about it, and he's so passionate, why didn't it come out? Yeah. Why didn't it come out? He'll
go to Venice.
He'll be at Venice. Oh yeah, he'll be at Venice. But it doesn't mean enough to be at theaters where all the people who are going to be playing your movie are. Okay. So this is like literally the theme of this whole episode is basically mixed messaging.
Yeah, let's talk about. Well, you talk about I'm going to ask you, like I'm interviewing you, Scott, what were you most impressed about? Like what, seriously, did anything convince you? Did anything excite you that you saw, whether it be behind the scenes footage or trailers? I know we talked a little bit while you were away. I'll lead you along with a carrot. I know you talked about Ghostbusters Afterlife. You did talk a little bit. I saw your tweets about Batman. You did get to see Matrix stuff. You saw a lot of things. What excited you the most? What are you really looking forward to, and why?
Okay, so so funny story. As I said at the top of the show, I was not planning going to CinemaCon, and I booked a very last minute flight because I canceled it originally, and I was gonna, with my credit that I had from that flight, I booked a flight to get there on, God, what day was it? Monday it started, right? So I was supposed to get in at 4:00, and I had some stuff happen and I wasn't able to go. So I didn't wind up getting into Vegas until 6:30. I had to switch my flight again, and I got in at 6:30. And on the plane when I was there, I got an email from someone who basically said, we're doing a secret screening right after the Sony presentation. We would really want you to be there and see this. So I'm sitting there on the plane. Obviously, you can't do anything about it. And I'm like sitting there, I was like, oh, I really want to see it. And I'm thinking to myself, and they wouldn't tell me what it was. So I was basically like, I'm going to be so pissed if it's Venom. I'm going to be so pissed if it's Venom. But I'm like, it's probably going to be Ghostbusters. So I'm like, and I'm going to be so pissed.
Hotel Transylvania 4.
Or Hotel Transylvania 4. But I'm like, it's going to be Ghostbusters because it's in a situation where, like, I'm not going to be able to make it. And I'm going to be pissed that I missed this. And yada, yada, yada. So ironically enough, I ran off the plane. I grabbed my bag, and I was able to get there. And I missed the first 8 minutes or so of Ghostbusters Afterlife, which was a secret screening. And to me, that was the highlight of the entire trip, was seeing that movie early because, as you know, and both me and Demetri are huge Ghostbuster fans, and to me, it's nostalgia done right. It's everything that I would want from a Ghostbuster sequel, but it doesn't beat you over the head with nostalgia. It kind of plays with it, yet it relies on a whole new cast to kind of sell the movie. And it feels like that perfect, like, handover type. It's kind of like, all right, we're here. This is what it is. You know what you love. And like, but here's a new generation to enjoy. Here's the new people who are going to be part of this moving forward as well. So that was the highlight for me. The other thing that, of course, that I was excited for, and I normally would not have gotten up at 8:00 in the morning to go to a panel, was I did rush over to the Neon panel to see the Spencer trailer, because I knew they were going to drop it because it's playing at Venice, it's playing at Telluride, it's playing at TIFF. And I know that Neon has a lot of faith in this movie, because whenever a movie goes to 3 festivals during the fall, it usually means like they have a lot of support behind this and they think it's going to go somewhere.
100%.
Now, that trailer was super, super exciting for me to see, because as a fan of Kristen Stewart, I'm happy that people who hate her will finally they're going to have to cave in and say, oh, she's really good in this. She's really good. And the trailer doesn't really do that much to kind of showcase that, but they showed a clip afterwards that I feel like was like spot on. So that was perfect. And then there was a bunch of trailers throughout the week. The Matrix 4 looks really great.
Does it?
Yeah,
it does. Was it a trailer or did they show footage?
No, they just showed the trailer.
They showed the trailer.
The trailer really, I was like a naysayer, because let's be honest, the first Matrix was iconic, but the second and third one, womp womp, not that great. And so I'm like, do we really need a fourth one? There is some cast members absent, which I know has been talked about online. I wonder if they're going to make appearance, and that's going to be like kind of like the surprise of the movie. But they are missing from the trailer. But it does look interesting. It takes place many years after the events of, I guess, the first 3 movies. The Top Gun Maverick, they did show the first 13 minutes. I I told Demetri this. Like, I saw the trailer, the regular trailer that they released a couple months ago on the big screen recently. Right. It doesn't do anything for me. The clip that they showed got my interest up a lot. I will tell you that the audience ate it up like it was cake. I think it works. It works well, especially if you're a hardcore fan of the original. I think that's where the difference is for me. I wouldn't say that I'm a hardcore fan of the original. I think I like it, but I don't really love it. So if you love it, I think this movie is going to work for you based on what I saw. The Mission Impossible stuff, they didn't really show all that much, but they showed how they created a stunt scene. And honestly, Paramount did a great job of showing that. I mean, they literally showed how they filmed it, and like Tom Cruise being insane, like, oh, I want to do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Yeah. It was great seeing that unfold. And then I'm trying to think if there was anything else that really stood out. I mean, the Batman stuff was great, you know, the footage, just because I'm excited. Again, I think it just showcases the level of, like, if you're excited about something, if you see something and it elevates it a little bit more, like, oh, that Batman trailer looks really good. And like last night in Soho, they had a new trailer, and I'm like, I always wanted to see this, and this looks great too. Yeah. And that's it. And then we can end on here.
Well, wait. I do have one question, because another highly anticipated movie I know I'm looking forward to. What about Jurassic World?
Oh, Jurassic World. So basically, they didn't show like a trailer or anything. They basically showed this footage of basically the legacy of Jurassic Park, right? And they showed some clips of like 1993 and like how they set up Jurassic Park, and how Steven Spielberg and all the actors being super, super young. And then there were like, everyone was just sort of talking about like how this movie is going to be like the be all end all. And like, it's just like everything you're going to want is going to be like captured in this movie. So it was just like a lot of like, almost like overselling of something, but like I so bought into it because I'm such a big fan of the original. And I actually did not like Jurassic World, but I did like the second Jurassic World movie.
I like the second one better than the first as well.
And I don't know, like I still have a sweet spot for this franchise, and even though like the second and third movie weren't that great in the original trilogy, and then like I said, the first one wasn't that great in this one, and I like the second. I don't know. I'm still excited because it's like one of those things that has that nostalgia for me, and it was just weird seeing like dinosaurs for the first time when I was a kid. Yeah, I can't help but get giddy about it. I just can't, and I mean, I'm sure I'm setting myself up for disappointment because I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to feel the same way that I felt watching Jurassic Park for the first time. With all these movies, because it's just a franchise movie now, and I know they're going to try to get everyone back, so it'd be exciting to see all these actors come back. Yeah. But I don't know, like, at the end of the day, if it's going to live up to my expectation or this hype that they're setting it to. I hope so. I really do. I always hope so. I always want to be proved wrong. I mean, everyone always says, like, I'm negative or pessimistic. But at the same time, like, I honestly do wish to be proven wrong all the time.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Jurassic Park's near and dear to my heart. So, I'm looking forward to Jurassic World. That's why I asked. So, before we get into the other trailer.
Yeah, that's what you knew I was going to end on that. That's exactly what I was going to end on. Yep.
So go ahead.
Let's obviously I did not get to see this on the big screen, and I'm sure I would have came out and said masterpiece if I saw it on the big screen. And that, of course, is the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, which was like the big.
Wait.
What did you think I was going to say? Hold on. Demetri thought I was going to say something.
Wait. Spider-Man No Way. Wait. They showed, because I saw it online, they showed the Doctor Strange 2 trailer.
Oh,
no?
Right.
They showed Doctor Strange 2. I didn't see any. I mean, Spider-Man has a cameo in that, but it was mostly Benedict Cumberbatch. Am I wrong? I mean, right? But you say it's for Spider-Man?
You know what? I thought they said it was that, but now that I'm thinking about it, it probably was the Doctor Strange 2 trailer.
Which is weird that Sony would be promoting that for a Disney movie.
Yeah,
but I know that's part of the same deal.
Because they didn't want to show up for the presentation.
Right, maybe. Yeah, I saw the same trailer you did. I didn't see it on a big screen, but I was like, oh, this is the Doctor Strange sequel they've been filming. Interesting. No, all jokes aside, we know that it's Spider-Man, No Way Home. And I wish he would go home already.
Yeah, me too. So
yeah.
We play that. I think we did a great job playing that up. But serious, like, real quick, me and Demetri have not been fans of the last two Spider-Man movies, and I think one of the biggest reasons is the fact that they never felt like Spider-Man movies. They felt like extensions of like an Iron Man movie. And now you have this third movie that is so highly discussed, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, the multiverse," or whatever the hell it's called in the Marvel universe. I don't know. DC and Marvel are both doing it at the same time. Let's see who does it better. Come on, let the rage begin. DC sucks. Marvel wins. Blah blah blah. I have no idea how this is going to go down, but everyone's talking about this freaking movie, and I watched this trailer, and what Demetri was making that joke about is like, again, Spider-Man plays second fiddle in a Spider-Man movie. It is now a Doctor Strange movie that has Spider-Man in it. I don't know why they do not believe in Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I mean, I really do not understand.
I don't get it either, and it was my biggest problem with the first movie. I even had said this in my review. I remember it as if I had just written it. It was like when Iron Man gets a bigger applause than the main character who's the movie is named after, that's a problem. Like that's a major problem. Like, this is a Spider-Man movie, not an Iron Man movie, and yet Iron Man, when he shows up with that boat, that everybody went crazy. And I'm like, no, like, nobody recognizes that as an issue. This trailer that I saw, Benedict Cumberbatch is in this. Number one, it's a problem that, he creates. And it has to be a problem that he has to have a major, he has to fix. And when I was looking at screen time, it just looked like there was more Doctor Strange than there was Spider-Man, even from an overvoice capacity. I believed I heard more Benedict Cumberbatch. And again, I'm going, whose movie is this? And why are we doing this? Like, I want to see Spider-Man in his own movie, facing his own villains. And I'm not really getting that. I haven't gotten that in the three movies. The second movie was, to me, a joke. It was worse than the first. And this one, multiverse. Why not rely on your character? Even though I may not have been a huge fan of the Amazing Spider-Man movies, the ones with, what's his name? Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
They were at least about Spider-Man.
I know.
I don't understand this. I just don't. I don't get it. So what? Oh my God, Spider-Man's got a new suit. Who cares? Somebody else is going to help him fix the problem. Like, another Marvel, like, you're promoting. I mean, great job, Sony, because you're promoting Disney's movie.
Yeah.
More so than you're promoting your own character. It's a joke.
No, it really is, and I have to say that you watch this trailer, and I mean, I get like the fans and the nostalgia of, like, you got J.K. Simmons' voiceover in it. You have Doc Ock show up at the end. I mean, I get that element, okay? Like, I'm not discrediting this movie, or if you're a fan, but like, you have to be kind of annoyed that you're watching a Spider-Man movie and you've been watching two other Spider-Man movies, and it's like, it's not really about Spider-Man.
No.
It's always about someone else kind of swooping in and saving his ass, which is like,
Right.
this is not what made me love Spider-Man. Like, I mean,
No.
Tobey Maguire, when he played Spider-Man for those 3 movies, he got to be front and center. It was about Spider-Man. It was always about it. And I personally like the Andrew Garfield. I actually think Andrew Garfield is the best of all 3 Spider-Mans. I think he had, like,
fascinating.
yeah, I just thought he had the charisma for it and, like, the look. I just felt like Tobey was, like, good because we didn't know anything else at the time. Like, he was kind of like the person who got to kind of like take the characters of the big screen for the first time.
Right.
And I appreciated him in the first 2. Obviously, I'm not a fan of the third one. No one really is. But the Amazing Spider-Man, when I watched Andrew Garfield, I'm like, man, this guy's got the acting, and I also love the relationship between him and Emma Stone because, again, they were dating in real life, and you felt that natural chemistry that was able to be shown in the movie. And I know that the second movie wasn't that great, and I know it tried to do too much, which is part of a problem with a lot of, like, movies in general nowadays. They try to take on too much, but I did like him as the character. And
he was good.
Tom Holland is, like, great when he shows up in, like, Civil War, right? Or when he shows up in Endgame. You like, he's in the moment for those, like, really little times. Like, when he's there, he, like, really comes out and he shines through. But when I watch him in these standalone where he's more of, like, a supporting character and he's on screen for a lot of them, for a good chunk of the movie, I just feel like he doesn't elevate it. He doesn't elevate the material. It doesn't elevate the role. I mean, Zendaya, I feel so bad for her because she's so talented. I mean, I've seen her in so many different things, and I feel like she's slumming it in these movies. Like, I feel like she's, like, beneath her pay grade or something. Like, she's so much more talented than these movies allow her to be. And I don't know how I feel about Tom Holland right now as an actor. I've watched some of his stuff, and he comes off very likable, and I'm not saying that I don't think he's a decent actor, but it's just like, I don't know if he was ready to take on, like, this big of a role when he did. And I know a lot of people will disagree with me on that, but I don't feel like he was suited to become Spider-Man.
Well, that's because they haven't afforded him the opportunity to really own Spider-Man and make it his, like, and give him his own movie. I think that's a major part. I think he plays it fine. I'm in agreement. I don't believe he's the best Spider-Man, but I also don't believe that Sony has given Spider-Man his due. They haven't allowed him to, like, break free. They haven't allowed him to let a movie rest on the character's shoulders without bringing in a guest star that ends up taking over the narrative of a Spider-Man movie. So I think that Tom Holland is a talented actor, but in Spider-Man he hasn't been able to carry the movie by himself. It's not his fault. It really isn't his fault. But I like Tobey Maguire. I had no issue really with Andrew Garfield. I wasn't as big of a fan, but when I look at superhero movies, I can look at the first 2 Spider-Man movies, the Sam Raimi ones, and they are just near perfect superhero movies. They thematically they hearken back to the Superman movies, even the Tim Burton Batman movies. They have a great feel, and there is a great entertainment quality to them. And there had never been a Spider-Man movie like a theatrical great experience, and Sam Raimi really brought that character to life. I'd always wondered what James Cameron would have done, because Spider-Man was to have been his project, and I know he wanted Leonardo DiCaprio to be Peter Parker's Spider-Man, but I think what Sam Raimi did, especially in those first 2 movies, was exceptional. And it brought the superhero movie back in a way, long before Marvel decided, hey, let's check out and see what happens with Iron Man. But Spider-Man, because somebody said something, Iron Man has been in the MCU since 2008. No, wrong. Iron Man has been he's been in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but he's been in the comic books for way longer than that. Spider-Man, from Marvel Comics, Spider-Man's their lead guy. He's their lead superhero. It doesn't, like, for the comic books to bring Spider-Man to life makes way more sense than making an Iron Man movie. So, because he's been around and he has that fandom. And I'm sorry, but when you say that the movies are about Spider-Man, no, they really can't be about Spider-Man when Iron Man shows up to help him out. When it's all about the Iron Man legacy, like, I would say the second Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland is a little bit more of Spider-Man carrying the movie. But now that it's Doctor Strange, when these people are more prominent in a trailer, I just want there to be no interaction necessarily. When you had Captain America, the first Avenger, it wasn't until they brought Captain America to current day. And you know what, though? I never felt that the other Marvel people... I always thought that the Captain America movies were Captain America movies.
Yes.
Even in Civil War, it was still really about Captain America. No other superhero took over. Right. And I focused on that attention. It was the conflict that Captain America had with his ideology against, say, somebody like Iron Man. And that you kind of had to choose. But it was a Captain America movie. Yeah. So, I just feel that with Spider-Man, he deserves his own movies. And then you intertwine him. You interlace him with the MCU that Disney's doing.
Right.
But stop relying on the Disney movies. Give him his own movie. Well, I don't want to see cameos.
I think that's part of the problem, right? And I mean, Phoenix, I'm going to chime in here too, is that maybe he doesn't fully take over the film, but he becomes a crucial part of the plot. Like, the adventure doesn't unfold unless Iron Man is part of it.
Right.
And he relies on his resources in order for him to save the day, which is not what Spider-Man is known for. When you watch all the other Spider-Mans, Spider-Man figures shit out on his own.
Yeah, he figured out his costume on his own. It wasn't given to him by Tony Stark.
So, like, basically, they're using it as like a crutch to basically say, like, oh, hey, like, he's too young, he can't figure it out on his own. And it goes just so against. And when we talk about Marvel movies, right, we always talk about the Marvel formula. This movie doesn't even fit into the Marvel formula.
No. Even
it's like
Iron
having Shang-Chi in a movie, but like literally having like Captain America show up and save the day, or having Captain Marvel show up and save the day. They don't do that.
Right.
It's so weird that, like, people are so, like, forgiving of this when, again, I want to like them. I like these movies. But it's just like, give the character a chance to be in their movie without relying on someone else who's a part of this universe. The first Captain America movie, the first Captain Marvel movie, the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, they didn't rely on other people.
Right.
They relied on the characters that they were introducing, and they were selling the movie. I get in third movie, maybe you can start introducing these other characters and incorporating the MCU, but it started since the very first one. It was like he never got a time to shine. He never got a time to shine.
And again, why go to Doctor... Like, why doesn't Doctor Strange go, hey, Parker, that's a really stupid idea. Do you know what you're getting yourself into?
Yeah.
Like, and it's only when, like, they really make Peter Parker look stupid when he's actually a wicked smart kid. And so when that scene where he goes, wait, you mean MJ's going to forget all about me? Wait, you mean my best friend's going to... Well, yeah, idiot. What did you expect was going to happen? Like, you can't be that dumb. You're a smart kid. You're smart in science. Like, figure out another way to overcome the fact that Mysterio ruined your life, right? And he makes you this, okay, you've got to figure out, because you're going into adulthood now. Think of an option that better that makes you a New York superhero. Figure out a way on your own to endear yourself to the crowds. And so what? The people know you. Like, you can do this on your own. You don't have to go to Doctor Strange to do this. Like, he's got his own movie that he's figuring out. So
it just makes him feel so weak as a character, right? Like,
it does.
Like, why do I want to root for this character who can't figure shit out on his own? Like, it's just
that's the plight of every superhero, is it not? Where they've got to figure out, how do I do this? Like, I'd rather watch the world's greatest American hero trying to figure out how to fly with a ring when he doesn't have the instruction booklet. Like, this is what we should be doing. Like, how does the superhero work in the real world, and how does he figure out these problems? And again, I don't understand, like, why is it so easy for these people to be like, to take off like a mask? Like, they don't. That's one of the lessons you learn in Batman. It's like, I don't take off my mask because that's going to harm everybody else around me. But in Marvel, it just seems to be okay to tell the world who you are. And that was even in Spider-Man as well. And he didn't go to Doctor Strange and the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans to say, make the world forget who I am.
Right.
So, yeah. So I won't be surprised if there's a reference to Back to the Future 2 in the new Spider-Man.
Well, no, I will, because the first movie was literally just a rip-off of a John Hughes movie, right? Like, it just kept shoving it down your throat. Like, there's no originality in this movie. Like, they're literally like, okay, hey, guys, do you know this scene? It's from a John Hughes movie. Hey, guys, John Hughes. It was just like, oh, my God. Like, stop, Spider-Man.
Anyways, well, okay. Spider-Man Go Home. Wait, what is it? No Way Home. No Way Home.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching this episode.
Welcome back.
Hollywood. Yeah. Lively discussion as always. We film this 11 o'clock every Friday.
Every Friday.
I'm trying to figure out whether or not I'll be able to do a live taping with you, Demetri, from Telluride next week. I think it depends on when the screenings are and what screening. I won't know until
change the time. If you have an opportunity, if there's an opportunity to talk about something real wicked cool, change the time. I don't care if you're early or even later. We'll make it work.
Yeah, I mean, that probably would be good to do that. Yeah, so stay tuned on social media. We'll announce a new time for next week.
I just had to write. Zach says taking off your mask is a Trump plot. That's kind of funny. Funny.
It is kind of funny.
But yes, if you can do that from Telluride, to do a special report from Telluride, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
that would be great.
We'll have to look into that. But yeah, no, I think that would be interesting to do a live taping of that from there.
It would be our first time too doing that.
Yeah. Do two shows.
That'd be fun.
Do 2 shows, Zachary. All right.
All right.
You want Demetri back to do a show by himself? He can do it by himself.
Sure.
All right.
Because people seem to love that. All right.
That's all I talked about. All right. We'll talk to you next week. Sometime.
Talk to you later.
Stay tuned.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.